Hey everyone, my name is David Dunbar, or the Theme Park Evangelist. I am currently in the family room right now. Give me 1 second. And I just opened the blinds a couple of minutes ago so you guys could see me better. I was just checking my phone, I got a text message. Anyway, I figured that I would do another discussion vlog, another Disney one. This time I wanted to talk to you guys about how you can actually save yourself some money by going to Central Florida this summer. So I know that summer kind of just started not too long ago. So with that being said, I wanted to talk to you guys about how you can go to Central Florida over the next couple of months or so, and you can make it worth your while, and also make it the cheapest trip possible. I don't know if AJ from DFB Guide has done it yet. That's actually the person I was thinking about last night, but I would like to cover it myself. So I grew up in Central Florida for about 25, 26 years. I'm going to go 26 years, almost 27 years. And with that being said, there's a lot of things I know about Central Florida that not everybody knows about. Just because I've been living in Kentucky for 2 years doesn't mean I still don't know. I still don't know what there is to do in Central Florida. That still doesn't mean that I don't know how to save money on your next Disney World vacation or Central Florida vacation or whatnot. So I'm going to go over a lot of things. Not necessarily a list format, but well, somewhat yes. But um, anyway, with that being said, let's just start. So one of the first ways that you guys can save money on your next big Central Florida vacation, for me personally, I would strongly recommend driving down to Florida, depending on how far away you live, of course. If you live, let's say, as far north as Michigan, for example, then it's totally worth driving. You're always going to want to do like the cost factor. Um, you're always gonna like want to see, okay, how much would it cost for me to fly down, get a hotel, and rent a car? Because honestly, you're gonna be better off renting a car, depending on, of course, what your plans are when you're down there. But we'll get there. Honestly, it's a lot better off for you to drive down there, load up your car with all kinds of snacks and drinks, try packing a lunch if possible, and then when you get there, if you know anybody that lives down in Florida like I do, I try staying with TJ since he is so willing to let me stay with him anyway. But if you didn't have that convenience, then instead of trying to stay at Disney World motel, try staying at a local motel in the area instead, which I'll get to more later. And that's like one of the best things that you could do to help you save money. So of course you're gonna want to drive down. You're gonna want to do all that like factoring. Okay, well, like what is cheaper? What is gonna be cheaper in the long run? Is it gonna be cheaper to drive down, or is it gonna be cheaper to fly down and then rent a car? Or are you just gonna be with that person that's gonna rely on the public transportation? Like it all depends. You gotta think about all this stuff. Like it's not cheap to go to Florida, period. It's not cheap to go to Hawaii. It's not cheap to go to Europe, or it's just not cheap to go to anywhere, period. And Florida is just one of those really expensive places, and trust me, I know because I used to live there myself. So, for number two, we're going to talk about why it's so beneficial to stay on Disney property because of the fact that, um, let's say, for example, you do actually want to fly down to Florida. So, as of right now, the Disney Magical Express is running now. I did talk to someone named Justin Little, and he's been kind of following me on my Facebook page for quite some time now. And according to him, the Magical Express, yes, will discontinue to the general public by the end of the year, and then by July of 2022, so about a year from now, they will be reservations only, and I think it's only going to be for Disney. So it sounds like yes, the Magical Express is going to be available, and of course, I'm glad that he told me this because I'm not going to say exactly why he told me this, but I'm going to say this much. There are people out there who are not able to drive. I'm also going to say that there are people who just prefer to fly down to Florida. I actually have a friend, her name is Katie, and she always flies down to Florida every month. And she normally will rent a car. There are people who just would not rather drive down to Florida, especially when it comes to Georgia. Georgia just takes forever to drive through. I totally get it. But here's the thing: like when it comes to flying, um, you always have to ask yourself, like, okay, now that I'm at Orlando International Airport, which is of course the closest to the theme parks, how am I going to get to the resorts, the motels? I mean, there are a lot of shuttles that run to and from the airport, and then of course you're going to have to ask yourself, am I going to be willing to rely on like public transportation, for example, to get around? So it's just one of those things. But I mean, it's kind of nice because normally it's all free, like the Magical Express. Now they are talking about having the train going by next year, which is going to run from the airport all the way to Disney or whatnot. And Ron DeSantis has been putting a lot of emphasis on it from what I've been reading. So I've been looking forward to that. So for number three, um, kind of going back off of more of number two, just to kind of reiterate number two, another reason why it's so nice to stay on Disney property is not just because of the fact that you get that free transportation, but also because of the fact that um, you basically have the ability, like for example, if you're staying on at the Magic Kingdom resorts, and it's like Fourth of July weekend, for example, it's going to be absolutely ridiculous to get from the parking lot to the park, or for the parking for the park back to the parking lot. There's not going to be as many people trying to get on the resort monorail because there's not as many people that are staying at the Disney resorts for certain. So this is one of those times when staying at the Magic Kingdom resorts is like a huge benefit because of the fact that you can literally catch the monorail back to your Disney resort. If you're that person that really wants to watch the fireworks from the park, you can stay as late as you want. The Disney Resort monorail usually stays open for quite a while, and then you can just take the Disney Resort monorail back to your Disney Resort, and then you can go to bed. Because the Disney Resort monorail usually runs for quite some time. And it's so nice because, like, say for example, you're over at Polynesian, and you really wanted to watch the fireworks on the park, so then you have that ability to watch the fireworks, and then you could just get on the resort monorail and go back to the Polynesian. It might take you a little bit, but trust me, it's probably easier than trying to take the express monorail back to the main entrance, which is going to be absolutely insane. Number four, I personally would rather do this if I did not have the option to stay FTJ. I would be that guy who would stay off of 192, which is a major highway that runs between Apopka and Kissimmee. So the reason why I say this is because there's so many motels over by Walt Disney World that you can literally stay at, and a lot of these places actually do offer free continental breakfast. And I should make a point that note or whatever by saying that not all of the motels in the Walt Disney World area offer free continental breakfast, and the only ones that offer it are the ones outside of Walt Disney World. If you are planning on staying on Walt Disney World property, expect to pay for your breakfast. Now, the reason why they expect you to pay for your breakfast is because of the fact they're offering you that free, luxurious transportation. Like, you have the option between the monorail, depending on where you're at, or you have the option to stay going on the Skyliner or the bus. They're not really using the water taxis like they used to, but the bus is definitely available, and they do run the buses quite often. So they have two different buses. They have one that drives you around the resort, and those are constantly running. And then they have a bus that usually runs within the hour. And those are the ones that take you to the parks, and then like after a certain time, they'll take you to Disney Springs, if I'm not mistaken. I think when it gets late enough, they'll start running you to Disney Springs. So yeah, I think that is kind of cool that you have that option. And the buses at the Walt Disney World Resort hotels usually are pretty. Um, Sorry, I'm so congested still. Are pretty efficient. That's the best way to put it. Now, if you're that guy decides I want to go to Disney Springs on my last day and I have to get to the airport, well, expect to be stuck in Disney Springs for quite some time. So, if I were you, this is another big tip: do not go to Disney Springs on your absolute last day of your trip because you may not get to the airport on time as much as it stinks. I have to pause the video sometimes just to blow my nose. I know it's sick, but I hate this congestion. It's the worst. And you can hear it in my voice. It's the absolute worst. Anyway, um, as far as the outside Walt Disney World Resort, well, I should say out the motels outside of Walt Disney World, the nice thing is, yes, they do offer free continental breakfast. However, you do have the pain of knowing that the shuttles don't run as often, nor do they necessarily run where you want them to go. So, the nice thing about staying on Walt Disney World property is the buses pretty much will take you wherever you want to go. You may have to wait around for a little bit to get on a bus that you want to get on to get to whatever park or resort. So, Walt Disney World, at all the hotels there, the resorts, they have um, a pretty much little bus depot with soda vending machines pretty much set up everywhere and fans. They have TVs that'll show exactly when that bus is coming and where they're going to. And all you have to do is stand there or sit there or wait for whatever bus is coming. Another key is make sure you get there early. I learned the hard way that a lot of people were waiting to get over to Disney Springs, and of course we are living in COVID age back then. So, well, at least a few months ago, anyway. So everybody was trying to get over to Disney Springs. So I got on for a second, and I accidentally got on the wrong way. Just to ask, hey, is this bus going to Disney Springs? I was actually doing everybody a favor, and the bus driver was like, "Oh yeah, I'm going to Disney Springs." All I want to make sure because everybody had been stuck there for quite some time. And when he did say he was, I attempted to get on. Well, yeah, I should have gotten on the wrong way, but I thought it was also funny that the guests were starting to get so impatient that they thought that I was trying to butt ahead, so they all shoved their way on the bus because they were like, we're guests. We shouldn't have to be kept waiting this long, nor are we going to let some idiotic guest going to jump in front of us. And of course, the bus driver didn't help either by saying that I couldn't sit with other people because, we were living in that age where you had to stay with your party and it had to sit in like one group. And I was actually willing to either wait for another bus or find another way to Disney Springs because I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to make you guys suffer just because I have to be that oddball. It was so stupid. So, yeah, that's another tip for you guys. If you do end up going to a Disney resort and you really want to go somewhere specific, Disney Springs is the absolute hardest bus to get on. They do run buses to the theme parks and other hotels like very frequently. They just don't run a lot of buses to Disney Springs. Sorry, Disney Springs, which is literally the only way to Disney Springs if you are that guy that or girl or lady or whatever that wants to rely on Disney transportation to get to Disney Springs. So, like, keep that in mind. As far as, like, the other motels, so a close friend of mine from a couple of years ago, um, he stayed at a motel over in the Kissimmee area, and I guess he was staying far enough away from Walt Disney World, but yet close enough that they were offering uh, buses or shuttles, I should say, to Walt Disney World, but they were only offering them to like two different locations, and they were only running them like so often. So it's like a 20-minute drive from Kissimmee over to Walt Disney World. So um, it took him a little bit to get over there, but I'm just glad he can make it. Now, it did work out this one day that we were going to Epcot first, so we decided, well, we'll meet you at Epcot, and then we'll go from there. I think they were only running it from like Epcot to Disney Springs, and they only do it like 2 or 3 different times of the day, and they don't go any further than 6 o'clock or any later than 6, which I think is really interesting. But at least his motel, from my understanding, did have breakfast. I think you did have to pay for it, but TJ and I stayed at a motel 4 years ago next to Old Town, and they did actually have a free continental breakfast. It actually wasn't that bad, and they had a free guest shuttle that took you to the parks. If I remember correctly, it did take you to a good selection because it was close enough to Disney, and it did run at good times, but it wasn't like frequent. I think it was like once every 30 minutes, which isn't actually that bad, and it did take you to the airport, so it wasn't horrible. I mean, I don't know if it's as frequent as the Disney resort buses or whatnot, but I don't think it was that bad. I'm gonna go close some of this blinds because it's getting really bright in here. Wow, that is actually much better in here. It's definitely not as bright as it was because, my goodness, that sun was killing me. All right, I'm gonna put my seat back up again. So, anyway, another really helpful tip that I can give you guys is if you choose or decide that you are going to rent a car while you're in Florida, and if you're going to stay on Disney property or stay in a motel, instead of spending money the entire time, try to bring snacks or well, I should say this. So we stop at Publix, which is a grocery store in Florida, or stop at Walmart. They're everywhere. Also, there's another grocery store in Florida called Winn-Dixie. You can stop there too. I used to shop at all three. I actually know a guy who works for Winn-Dixie, or used to anyway. And I know all about Winn-Dixie. I know my friend TJ loves Winn-Dixie. He still shops there sometimes. There's nothing wrong with any of these grocery stores. Actually, Publix is a really good one because you can go to Publix and you can stock up on some BOGOs. You can go to Walmart and go get a case of water, and you can buy in bulk over there. And you can bring all the stuff in the resorts. Disney can't stop you from doing that. They don't care as of right now if you bring in that stuff into the theme parks if you either. Obviously, you don't want to pack too crazy because you want to still be able to get around. So, Anyway, this really helps out a lot because of the fact that if you know, stop at a grocery store and you buy all the stuff, like, for example, breakfast foods, you have breakfast, like, right then and there. You don't necessarily have to go to the food court or whatnot to go get breakfast. You can literally just get up. You can have, like, banana, Pop-Tart, or whatnot. Make sure it's somewhat filling. Make sure that excuse me, eat enough in the morning that you are good to go until lunch. Also, while you're at Walmart, like, get some Gatorade. You can also get Gatorade from Publix as well. Try buying some lunch foods like peanut butter and jelly and stuff like that. Stuff that's like non-perishable. If you're interested, you can go get a cooler and some ice packs. Or if you really want to, you can buy some ice. I know Publix definitely sells ice. And you can actually get a good sized bag of ice from Publix for like $2 or less. And you can just dump that right into the cooler, and you can fill that cooler with like soda cans and water bottles. Yes, if you want, you can buy soda from Publix and Walmart. You can bring that into the park, and you can buy whatever lunch foods that you want. You can bring it in. I'm just saying that's what I would do if I were you. I would also go ahead and rent a stroller for your young ones. I also have a tendency to rent a stroller just for my lunch. I like to call it baby lunch. It's something that my mom came up with. I'm not even lying. It's a lifesaver because it can be tiring carrying that lunch bag around your shoulder all day long, especially when you start getting sunburned and then that lunch bag starts to hurt. And finally, when you do get a chance to eat it, you're just like, oh, thank goodness. As far as like where can you eat your lunch at, so I'm gonna go through all the different places at Magic Kingdom, or well, I should say not Magic Kingdom, but just Walt Disney World alone that you can eat your lunch at. So at Magic Kingdom, pretty much anywhere that's outdoors, you can bring your lunch to. They have an outdoor area, a Cosmic Racer like cafe that you can bring your packed lunch to. They don't necessarily like you bringing your packed lunch into the sit down, well, not sit down restaurants, but the quick service restaurants. Obviously, you can't bring it to a sit down restaurant. That's obvious. But yeah, any of the quick service restaurants, you could get away with it up to a point, but they don't really like it. And I know there's a lot of outdoor areas. I know Cosmic Race is a completely covered area that's outdoors. You can find a lot of places that have tables and umbrellas. Over at Epcot, I usually will try to find a spot right next to the United Kingdom, the Rose and Crown pub section. The Rose and Crown pub has an outdoor seating area, and it's obvious where it is because it's completely behind a fence. So you can go anywhere as close to it as possible. And they do have tables and umbrellas, and you can eat there. You can bring your pack lunch over there. It's completely fine. Disney's Hollywood Studios. I used to bring my pack lunch over to an area called Studio Catering Company. Obviously, it doesn't exist anymore. I used to bring it over to ABC Commissary, but I can't do that anymore because it's a sit down restaurant. But for the longest time, I did, and they didn't really care. Um, as far as like Disney's Hollywood Studios goes, there are some areas for like tables. I know right in front of Minute Bills, as long as they're not using that area, you can do it. You can use that. I also know that you technically can sit there as well, even when the restaurant is open, because of the fact that that whole area in front of Minute Bills does use a lot of tables and umbrellas. Technically speaking, yes, that area is designated for guests eating at Minute Bills, but I have seen people that have brought their own food in. Like one time I was cleaning up over there, and this family brought in this whole entire meal from Taco Bell, and they were just chilling out right there, and I just was like, whatever, and I didn't think it was a big deal. Disney never really cared. Disney has never had an issue with outdoor food and beverages, which is amazing. Because Disney, I guess, makes enough money that it's not a big deal. I would like to see the day that Disney actually starts saying you can't do that anymore, but I have not heard that at all. And then over at Animal Kingdom, you would be surprised. Pizza Safari, you could actually get away with bringing your outdoor food and beverages into. There's an area over by Tusker House that you can bring your outdoor food and beverages into. And I know over by Yak and Yeti, you can there's like an outdoor eating area that you can bring your pack lunch over to. So yeah, there's definitely quite a few areas over at the parks that you can bring your pack lunches to. The water parks, that's also very easy to do. I technically don't usually bring my pack lunches to the water parks. That's just me. But yes, the water parks are usually ridiculously easy because you can literally um, find a spot where, like, you can literally go camp at or find a spot like the thousands upon thousands of chairs that they have and go, this looks like a good spot, especially since they have so many shade spots, and just get there nice and early and try to find that shade spot. And then you can put all your stuff there. You can bring, like, your pack lunch with you, and you can bring like a bag with all your swim gear and stuff like that with you and change of clothes. And you could even eat your lunch like right then and there. I don't know if I've ever packed my lunch for the water park, but yes, I know you can. I think I've seen people do it before. And yes, you can just chill out right then and there. Also, you can take your food over to one of the outdoor seating areas right next to the restaurants, and they don't care either. Disney Springs, they may have a problem with it. Honestly, I wouldn't even bring your packed lunch over to Disney Springs anyway, because of the fact that you're not even going to be there long enough for it to be even matter. But I always give people this rule of thumb: if you're going to go to Walt Disney World, try to eat at least one sit-down restaurant per day. Try to make it your effort to go eat at a sit-down restaurant for breakfast, lunch, or dinner. You're always going to want to try to do one character meal per day, or at least a week. Uh, the Crystal Palace is definitely by far one of the most popular ones. You're going to want to eat at one of the character places based on how old your kids are. Like, if you have a bunch of young girls, then you're definitely going to want to go to Cinderella's Royal Table by far, because it's literally a character meal with the Disney princesses. Like, you can't go wrong with that if you have little girls. And if you have kids that like Winnie the Pooh and gang, you're going to want to go to the Crystal Palace. Um, Epcot, over at Seasons, they have all the Mickey friends and gang that come out and see you. I would like to try that out sometime. And I know that there are other restaurants that are character besides what you would call it, Chef Mickey's, which is also the Mickey gang and friends. So yeah, you have a good option. Just keep in mind the character meals are a little more expensive because of the fact that you are paying a little extra for those guys to come out and spend time with you. Like, literally, the character meals are so cool because of the fact that they start on one side of the restaurant, they make their way around the entire restaurant. I did try to get TJ to go and say hello to Pooh a little early. The character attendants have a very strict rule that the characters will slowly but surely make their way over to you at their own pace. This way, the characters can take their time with all of the guests. Obviously, the characters will need a break every 30 minutes or so, gotta go do whatever they need to do. But they do eventually get to you. Also, keep in mind, if you ever do a character meal, you're going to be guaranteed to sit there for at least 2 to 3 hours. So, if you do any kind of character meal, just keep that in the back of your mind that you're going to want to get there early enough and you're going to want to be there for at least 2 to 3 hours. That way, you are guaranteed to see your character. The face characters usually have a little more time because of the fact they don't have to leave like the other characters do. Those guys only can be out for like 30 minutes, but that's it. And then the other characters, I think they have a 30-minute window, but I could be wrong. But that's based on, or that's the best understanding that I have. Anyway, so that's pretty much what I have to go with that. And then let's see here. Another tip that I have for you guys is if you're gonna go to one of the Disney World events, like I talked about the Disney World events last night. If you really want to go to Disney World and you really want to attend an event, make sure you do your research ahead of time. Is it going to be something that only one person is going to enjoy, or two people, or is it going to be something that all of us could enjoy? Um, the very first time I went to Star Wars Weekends, I didn't get anything out of it. I didn't really start getting anything out of it for a few years. And by that point, I was actually getting more out of it than my dad, surprisingly. So I wasn't quite ready for Star Wars Weekends when I first started going to it many, many, many years ago. The only event that I've like truly enjoyed my whole life is Food and Wine, and that's about it. So, whatever Disney World event that you really want to attend, that's the one you're going to want to go to. Obviously, there's a lot more to going to Central Florida than Disney, so let's talk about a few other things. Universal actually does not really care if you bring in outside food and beverages. The signs say yes, but they actually don't care. Trust me, I've brought in outside food and beverages so many times to Universal, it's not even funny. What they do have a problem with is if you bring in certain coolers. One time I tried bringing in one of my dad's coolers, and it looked too much like a work cooler because it was. And they were like, yeah, you can't have that in here. So they made me take everything out and put it in a plastic bag, which wasn't a good idea because I ended up having some type of issue where I had something leaking, and I didn't know it was leaking until I tried getting on Cat in the Hat, and I had this whole scenario where um, I had to stand over this drain, and I almost wasn't allowed to ride, and they were like, "Yeah, we'll just go ahead and let you ride." It was so embarrassing. I actually had the whole story posted on Facebook somewhere. I just don't remember where it went. I thought it was hysterical. It's too bad I wasn't YouTubing at the time. What I used to do when I used to go to Universal all the time was I would pack a lunch and I wouldn't bring any drinks because Disney, yes, they did have the free complimentary water, but I still would bring drinks anyway because it was just one of the scenarios. Now, Universal is actually a lot easier to not pack drinks for, so I would bring my um, whatever you call it, Coca Cola Freestyle Cup. I would go and get that activated for like $8 to $10, and I just go keep getting that activated, like, or well, refilled, I should say, all day long. And trust me, it was like the best investment I ever could make because I would literally walk around the entire park and just keep getting that refill all day long, and I would have that one lunch. Universal didn't actually care where I ate my lunch. I can't even begin to stress how many times I would walk into just some random quick service restaurant and I would bring my packed lunch in. One thing I used to do a lot was I would like go to Publix and I would buy a sub. I've been really into the whole online ordering system, so I would order a sub ahead of time. I would go inside, go pick it up, pay for it. You can actually pay for your Publix sub ahead of time now. Not that you know what that, but you can. You can get that through the Publix app, or you can go through Publix.com. I do have an account with them. Or if you would rather be that guy or lady that wants to go into Publix and go customize your sub the way you want it to, they have a new sub every single week, trust me. Going to Publix and getting it one of their footlongs is like the best thing ever. Um, I personally would only get a 6 inch, and usually I will get a 6 inch, and if I really wanted to just buy all my food from Publix, I'll get a 6 inch sub. I might get one of their drinks, I might get some snacks, and I'm all set. I'll throw that all into a cooler, or I'll bring a 6 inch sub, or I would have already packed my lunch ahead of time, and then I'll go to Publix. I'll go get a 6 inch sub, and I'll throw that in my bag. Done. Boom, I'm done. And that's usually what I'll do for like Disney or Universal. And it literally saves so much money. And usually for dinner, no, most of the time I'll stop at like McDonald's or Wendy's, sometimes Checkers, sometimes we'll stop at like Fuddruckers on the way back, and I'm good to go. And how much did I spend that day? $20 other than parking, and that was just on food. Like that's pretty good actually. And all I did was I ate breakfast that morning, which normally I would eat at the house, or sometimes I'll buy breakfast. So sometimes I'll spend up to $30. At this point, I'm avoiding buying Disney snacks or Universal snacks for that matter. And then I'm drinking fluids constantly throughout the day. And then the only food that I'm eating is the food that I packed and then whatever food I decided to stop on the way home for. And that's what I've actually convinced my friends to start doing, and they really like my idea. I came up with that idea all for my parents, so you can see what an influence my parents have had on me and on my friends, and I'm really glad that my friends are like, yeah, we really like where your parents' minds are at. And I'm hoping and praying that my parents' influence will have an effect on you guys too, and that you will take my advice on that. Um, let's see here, what else? Legoland is another place that I would highly recommend you guys try using the Coca-Cola Freestyle Cup. So they came up with that idea about a few years ago, and that's another place I'll usually either A, pack a lunch. Also, I should note, because it is Winter Haven, It's a smaller area, so it's actually very easy to leave the park. And you can go to like Golden Corral or Wendy's or McDonald's. Almost everything is within 10 to 20 minutes driving time. And you can even get to Chick fil A within 10 to 20 minutes. Some places are even closer. Like there's a Wendy's that's like 5 minutes away from Legoland. And you can get there in like no time. One time I went to Legoland with TJ, and we decided, well, we're not going to eat in the park because it's like ridiculously expensive. They actually have something very similar to a CC's Pizza, and it's actually more expensive. And trust me, it's not worth it. So, not in my opinion anyway. So, what I normally would do is I'll be like, well, I want to save money, so we're going to leave Legoland property for a little bit, and we're going to drive back to Cypress Gardens Boulevard. We'll turn left at the light, and there's literally a Wendy's right there on your immediate right, like shortly after the Golden Corral. And we'll go get some food there. We'll spend like $10. We're good to go. Or if you really wanted to, you could go to Golden Corral. It's like right there as well. A lot of people go from Legoland to Golden Corral. That Golden Corral actually makes a lot of money from Legoland, and they're actually really cheap, especially around lunchtime. So that's another thought I have for you guys. There is a Golden Corral like right there that you guys could go to, and you could go fill yourself up. They do offer free water. Like you could just go suck up all the water that you want. As I said, they do offer the free well, I should say the Coca Cola Freestyle cups as well at Legoland. TJ has mine as well as the one for Universal. So usually when I'm down in Florida, I'll have him wash out both of my cups, and then I will take the Universal one with me to Universal, and then I'll take the Legoland one with me to Legoland. I personally don't go to either of those places that often. Like, I don't go to Disney that often. So, if I'm in Florida, then I'll use the cups. They're technically my cups. I paid for them. I'm a cup collector myself. So, if I'm down in Florida, I'll go ahead and use them since they're mine anyway. But if I'm not there, I'm so sorry. I'm still sick. I'll just say, yeah, TJ, just do whatever you want with it. If you want them to sit in your cupboard and collect dust, I don't care. Anyway, I hope that helps my nose out. So, that's just usually something I try to do when I'm down in Florida. And since Legoland is actually so close to his house, it's very convenient for us to even go back to his place and go get something. TJ's not really big about eating at his place all that often, so it doesn't really matter to me anyway. TJ loves to eat out. Another piece of advice I have for you guys, if you happen to say, oh, I really want to take my kids to Legoland on my next Central Florida trip. So, just me personally, if I were you, I would definitely make an investment to stay at the Beach Retreat Resort. I actually did vlog that last year, so if you want to check that out, it'll be right here in the top right hand corner. I would really look into that because not only did they have really nice rooms that were like really private and secluded, but they also had a free continental breakfast. I mean, really, really, really nice continental breakfast in the morning. And I like loaded up my plate, and they had like chocolate milk and regular milk and orange juice and apple juice. I was like, what? I was like really, really impressed. I was like, wow. And it was all part of you staying at the Legoland Beach Retreat. And the funny thing was, when I stayed there on February 27th, 2020, we had no intention to go to Legoland the next day. We actually went to Universal. So it's like, yeah, I'm going to be that guy that's going to go stay at Legoland Beach Retreat and go to Universal the next day. I just found that kind of messed up, but, you know, I personally didn't care. And they don't really care either. TJ happened to get that room for free because of the fact that he had just left Legoland. And, he had enough points saved up. So before he officially left, he decided to go ahead and use up all of his points, and he had enough points for that free room at Legoland, so that's what he decided to use it for. And he was like, "So, Dave, what do you want to use? Do you want to go Do you want to stay at Beach Retreat? Do you want to stay at the other hotel? We've been wanting to stay at Beach Retreat for quite some time. So I said, we're definitely staying at Beach Retreat. That is a must. So definitely would do that again. I wasn't impressed by how small the rooms were in the sense that it's definitely not designed for, or like the bunk beds anywhere, not definitely not designed for big boys. I personally am not gay, so the idea of me trying to share a bed with TJ what made me very uncomfortable, but I've been forced to do it a couple of times because of the fact that I either A, had the situation where I had absolutely nowhere else to sleep, or B, I could have slept on the floor because the bed I was going to try to sleep on was just too small. So I usually would have TJ sleep on the complete opposite side of the bed, and that's as far as I went. And I would just kind of keep to myself, and I would try to stay as far over on the other side of the bed as possible. Trust me, I did not feel comfortable about it whatsoever, and I'm even embarrassed as a Christian that I even did it. But at the same time, I was like, what else was I supposed to do? Um, I don't even know what I would have done if TJ had been a female. It's already bad enough that he's a guy, and I basically felt like I was being gay by doing that, and neither of us are gay by any means. And both of us have openly admitted that we're not gay. We are very much so straight. Um, we both are only interested in women, and that is it. I know that gay marriage is very openly accepted these days, but that doesn't mean that either of us accept it. So I just want to make that clear. Um, as I'm coming to an end with my vlog, I know this ended up turning into a much longer vlog than I anticipated, and now my voice needs a break. But I'm really praying and hoping that you guys will take some thought into and consideration to the tips that I gave you guys. Um, Definitely take advantage of any kind of free water program, especially in the hot summer at the theme parks. Try to take advantage of that free um, transportation. Legoland does offer free transportation to and from Beach Retreat. I did not mention that, but I'm going to now. We didn't need it because we were staying. Or I should say, we were going to Legoland the next day, but it was nice, and we also did have a car. But yes, if you had wanted to, you could leave your car, or if you didn't have a car, um, you could technically um, take a shuttle over to um, Beach Retreat. Now, you might also be asking, well, what if I want to go to Legoland, but I have no way there? Like, how am I going to get from the airport over to Winter Haven? That's like a long ways. Well, I have good news for you guys. There actually is a motor coach that runs all the way from Winter Haven to Orlando International Airport 7 days a week, 365 days a year. And I'm sure it has free Wi Fi and outlets and all that fun stuff on it. And it's all completely free. So if you guys ever needed a way to get from the airport over to Winter Haven, that's how you would do it. And if I'm not mistaken, that same exact bus does stop at a few local hotels in the area. Lake Wales and Winter Haven are getting busier, and that's why there's so much expanding going on. It's definitely a lot busier than when I last left it, which was back in 2019. Even when I first found Lake Wales, when I first got to Lake Wales, this is basically all there was to it. There um, was a gas station on the right side. There wasn't even a gate at the time, if I'm not mistaken. I don't remember if there was that gate gas station. That Wendy's that you first come upon when you get to Lake Wales has always been there. There always had been a Home Depot. There always had been a Publix. The McDonald's was not there originally when I first got to Lake Wales. Um, there was also no IHOP right there in Lake Wales when I first got there. It was actually in another location. The mall was there originally when I first got there. The mall was, it's not like your fancy schmancy mall. I was even surprised that Lake Wales even had a mall. And trust me, it's not like it makes a lot of money. And then there's been like 3 or 4 different bowling alleys that have come and gone over the years. And that mall alone, as crazy as that is. And then if you go further down the road, that's pretty much when you get to downtown Lake Wales. And there hasn't been a lot of changes over there either. I mean, more so recently, but when I first got there, there was like nothing out there whatsoever. In fact, the original McDonald's that used to be on Highway 60 was a completely different location and it was a much older McDonald's. So it just goes to show that Legoland has really brought a lot of tourism to Winter Haven and Lake Wales. So every time I go down there, it's just like, wow, this is not the same area that I moved to like 16 years ago. It's definitely not. And I'm kind of glad in that sense that I left. And I especially don't miss the hot weather, that's for sure. Anyway, I've been talking for 45 minutes. Please let me know if you have any questions. Let me know if you are going to Central Florida anytime soon. Let me know if you need any more tips and advice, and I will definitely help you out. Until then, I will see you guys in the next vlog. And always remember, you can do all things through Christ who strengthens you. Have a great day. Peace out.